Now, before I get into the review of the Topping VX1, I just want to make sort of a PSA that I am now building and selling speaker cables, because donations no one gives, and I'm not going to start selling t-shirts, so why not sell super high quality speaker cables for actually ridiculously reasonable prices? Ooh, inflatable, wacky, waving, flailing tube man. These are 9 gauge, because there's two 12 gauge leads in each. So 9 gauge, 7 foot long, heat shrink and wrapped cables, terminated with rebranded Nakamichi ends. So they are super tight. And I will sell a 7-foot set in either black or white, and I think I like the white better, but either black or white for $75. You go ahead, you look for a 9 gauge speaker wire finished as cleanly as these, and I could do different colors. I could do these solids if you want, not clear, so you don't see the actual individual wires. And you see if you could find 9 gauge twin 12s for $75 shipped to you in an envelope from the post office in a fixed flat rate envelope. Alright, so this is my idea of supplementing my income. Look at these things. I'm just so proud of the way they look. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at it. Look at them. You could jumpstart a car with these, I guarantee it. So, information, contact me or head to my subreddit or message me on Reddit or message me on YouTube. And get you set up. Zwire. Z-wires. Now that I've sold you something, let me sell you something else. Look how pretty those are. This is the Topping VX1. And I did a Topping review, which I'll probably link in the description, where I pretty much shit all over it. That was the TP21. That was their smaller headphone amp, headphone speaker amp combo, and it sounded atrocious, and I basically said don't buy it, and I don't want to ever see anything from Topping ever again. But the problem is people don't like a stack of things. Here, Behringer deck, Indeed TA 2021, and now include some sort of mediocre headphone amp, and then wire it all together, and you've got a big pile. If you don't want that big pile, then you buy this. So let me extract these mega wires. God, start a vacuum cleaner with those. Metal, obviously a little bigger than, well, just about every other amplifier, like microamps. Topping just, I don't know, they got their own little size thing going on. So what does this have? We've got a full-size USB, built-in DAC. It's got an auxiliary input. That's great. You know, miniature 5-way binding posts. These can unscrew. Put your wire in there. Or get banana plugs and buy wire. The way I see it with these wires, by the way, I'm going to keep jumping back and forth because I'm selling these. You can get a 100-foot roll of 14 gauge oxygen-free copper for $30. Or for $75, you can get just two 7-foot lengths. But it's 9 gauge, oxygen free. And you could say, I made them for you, personally. I'll sign them if you'd like. Now, that's it for the back. 14-volt power brick, cuts plugged in. Isn't that a lovely colored LED? Just poking in your eyes. Okay, I'm so glad you could do that. You could just turn this over, and it still works. So, front, power, input select, a 1/4-inch headphone out, and your volume knob. Now, let me tell you what makes this good. Plug this in. Is it plugged in? Okay, good. Let's plug this in. Let me turn it on before I do anything else. Let me see if this plays before I do anything else. Alright. If you shut this off, which is by holding this down, it continues to play. And it continues to play because as long as this is plugged in, it's recognizing it as a DAC. It doesn't have to be on to be a DAC, which means when you shut this off, doesn't freak your computer out. Your computer doesn't go, oh my god, my sound cards disappeared or my DACs disappeared. If I unplug the power, still doesn't freak out. If I unplug the USB, it freaks out. It just freaked out. So, you can run this, you could leave this plugged into your computer, power it off from the power, power it off from the front, and it won't bother your computer. Excellent. Way to go, Topping. You're improving greatly. Let me get this set up. I was running that. Oh, I gotta restart. I gotta restart foobar. Yes. XP freaks it out. So hold on. Configure output VX1. Okay. Play. Okay, it's playing again. So let's hook up these speakers. Well, let me turn the speakers around. I'm just going to use my Emotivas. The amplifier in the VX1 is 25 watts per channel, which means if you were to buy something equivalent, the SA50 is too powerful. The SA36 is not powerful enough. So you got to look at something like the Indeed, which is acclaimed at 25 watts per channel. So, and obviously white is ground here. 1, 2. Now I want to remind you about these wires. They're not going to make anything sound any better. You're never going to need the girth that these wires provide. There's the makings of the wires, by the way. What these wires do is look awesome. That's it. They look awesome. They look well made. I hate seeing people with like $500 wires and a $1,000 amplifier, and then just, you know, I know the speaker wire doesn't matter for sound, but if you just have shitty wires coming out of it, it doesn't look good. And these look, you know, don't go on the fact that it's not going to do anything to the sound. Go on the fact that it looks like it's going to do something to the sound. As long as you explain to people that it won't, they'll be fine. Turning this on. All right. Your Honda might be as fast as a Ferrari, but it's going to look like a Honda. So, what's the really impressive thing about this? Well, here you go. Nothing happened. I plugged in headphones and it didn't automatically switch over. You know why? Because the power switch switches it on. Now the headphones play, and it actually will switch both on. With those lovely blue LEDs. Now, I've been asking for this feature for a long while. My Emotiva, right there. I went to their forums and like, hey, why don't you just put a button so I can leave my headphones plugged in instead of doing this? And at least this is a 1/4 inch. That's still only a 3.5. So they've already got a Emotiva beat on the headphone features. So just speakers, just headphones, and then headphones and speakers for some reason. I'm not sure the actual use you do with that. And where's my player? Are you still playing, player? Yes, you are. Let's plug in the auxiliary. And we'll switch to it. Up and down, and I know. Now, one thing I noticed is my little player can't put out the right levels to get this. If I switch this to USB, like that's loud. It's not so bad. It's not so bad. But usually the line in I have to have up higher, so you got to be careful. Now, as wonderful as that button is that switches back and forth, it doesn't know what headphones you have and it doesn't know what speakers you have. So because I have super efficient speakers, this, again, just no fucking indicators at all on the power. There's like a divot. There's a little tiny divot in there that says that's where my volume is. And I wish it would be a giant white or glowing arrow that says That's where the volume is, and it doesn't have it. And it's kind of important on this amp because when you do that and then switch to headphones, now your headphones are controlled by that knob. So you put your headphones on, and they're real low. Well, these are real low. These are the 300s. And they're not so hard to drive, but let's put it up. I now have the amplifier up to full volume on headphones. Full volume. Not a very good headphone amp. Gonna say that right out. Has one, not super powerful. Now they take the 25 watt per channel amplifier that's in here and they put some resistors on it and it comes to this front. So they've taken 25 watts, which will melt headphones, and they've collapsed it down to half a watt or whatever it is. I'm not sure, I can't measure that. But they cut it a little bit too hard. So now I'm playing this at full volume, which sounds okay. It's not murderously loud. Let's say a little less than that. Okay, I'm ready to switch back to speakers.
You've gone.
Yeah, it comes on real loud. Now, thank God this is Yoko Kanno on Listen to the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack. If this was Megadeth and I had loud had inefficient headphones that I blasted the amp and then switched, first of all, it's going to switch to both, which I wouldn't recommend. There's no reason to have both on. But you're going to pop speakers out. It's going to distort under the load of heavy speakers.
So strong.
Yeah, you hear that? That real shitty sound? That's distortion. So, I will refine my request now for amplifiers in general. 2 volume knobs. Think back to when you were a kid. When I was a kid, all the receivers on Earth had the big volume knob here for volume, and then a 1/4 inch plug, and there was a little tiny knob for volume on your headphones. And that's what everything needs. You need 2 knobs. So, putting an all call out to any amplifier manufacturers that are looking at this, make it look nice. If you have to do a ring inside a ring, like the old car stereos had, or just each side has a smaller knob, that's really what's needed. You really need just 2. And well indicated, please. This fucking divot bullshit. Can I pull this out without destroying it? Nope, that's definitely in there. Bad. Yeah, no indicator of how loud your volume is set, so if the amp's off, would you hold it down, turn it off? The amp's off, and that's like that. The only thing you see is right here is the set screw to hold that knob on, which is why I couldn't pull it off just now, and I'm stupid. So, but you can put it like that high, not see that set screw. We're looking at 3 o'clock volume. Now, so feature-wise, it's trying real hard, guys. Real hard. It's got the auxiliary in. That's great. It's got headphone switching. It's miraculous that it exists, and my dreams are coming true. What doesn't it have? Well, this has a DAC in it, right? We all know that. But you can't access it. In other words, there's nothing coming. There's no line out on the back of this. It's just speaker out or line in. So, if you bought it for the DAC and you bought, let's say, let's say you bought an O2 because you got super hard to drive headphones, you can't make this go. You'd have to just, well, you could make it go. You'd have to headphone out into the end of this and then out. So, I mean, that's it. That's literally what you'd have to do. There's no other way around it. I don't have my jumper wire here, or it's buried. And you would just plug this into here and then plug your headphones into there, and then you'd have to do it that way. But you couldn't do powered monitors. If you had this setup, speaker, and you wanted to get a set of powered monitors just to try them, you can't take the DAC out of this and use it because it's locked. It's locked in powered outputs, and it's locked in a headphone output. And then you'd have to really get this set just so that's line voltage, which I'm not even sure if it'll reach. Honestly, line voltage is 2 volts. That's what you have, just a standard. If you have the ODAC, you plug in USB, and there's 2 RCAs or the 3. It's 2 volts, 2.25 volts is what should come out of those RCAs. And I'm not sure if you can get this headphone up to that level cleanly because of the way it's doing it. It's sort of like It's really an ass backwards way. You should have DAC amplify just enough to get it to 2 volts, and it's super clean and come out. With this, it's going to be DAC amplified to 25 watts, and then step down, step down, step down for the headphone out, and then you're adjusting it. I have no idea what the hell's coming out. It's just that amplification doesn't need to happen in order to access a DAC properly. So you're looking at like $120 for this. Cheap. All right. I've compared the DAC quality in this. I had the M2 here a while back. I'm just shipped it out from last month's giveaway, and I was switching between the internal DAC, and I had this line to the M2, and on the computer I was switching back and forth. So the same song would be playing, and through speakers and headphones I was comparing what the DAC sounded, because the amp, I was using the same amp, and the DACs were pretty similarly powered into it, you know, Windows volume and what was happening inside of it. So when I switched from one to the other, the volume didn't change, just the sound changed. So the way I'm going to approach this and tell you is that the Behringer UCA 202 is the cheapest DAC I think anyone recommends. And it's okay. It really is good. I had it for a long time. 2 years is all I used. It's not the greatest DAC, but it's good. And that's what this has. This has not the greatest DAC, but it's good. When I put the M2, the SMSL M2 into it, through a 3.5mm, it sounded better. There was no depth in songs. When you sit here and it's a simulation of, you know, people further away, people closer, whatever calculations that the DAC does to make that happen, the M2 could do it better. So this will work. This will sound good. Better than, probably on par with any onboard sound. Maybe a little bit better, a touch better. But it's not going to blow you away. It's not replacing an ODAC. It's not replacing an Audio Engine D1. It's just getting you by. So if you need a USB input, you got a laptop, and you're just going to bring a laptop, plop it down, and plug something into it, fine. If you're looking to spend less than $120, you probably can't beat, well, I say that, but SA50 and the SMSL SD793-2, good for me for remembering that, you're looking at $70 and $60. So you're looking at $130 for that little stack, and that'll give you a better headphone amp by a decent margin, and a better DAC by a decent margin, and a better headphone amp by a decent margin, and a better speaker amp, I mean. Because this is obviously 50 watts per channel, probably usable to around 30 or 35. This is 25 watts per channel, probably usable to around 20. So, who's buying this if I'm telling you it's not all that great? People who just want simplicity. Speaker wires, maybe an auxiliary, you don't even need it. Headphones in, got this awesome, that's awesome. That's awesome. That feature needs to be on other amps that have better parts. Now, I'm giving this one away. Sound quality on the amp is very good. Here's what was my problem with the original topping, was that the amplifier made things sound like shit. No other way to describe it. I'm not going to get technical and then say, oh, it was bloated. Garbage came out of it. It sounded like one of those old Sony boom boxes you find in the garbage you plug headphones into. Just like, ugh. And I've had a couple of people now confirm that theirs sounded since they've upgraded. So good for you, good for them. I'm glad that this doesn't sound like and I have spent just like 2 weeks listening to it. So the headphone amp isn't that powerful, but at least it's being pushed through a decently clean amplifier. So you get listenable volume out of things like the HE300s, my HM5s. I really am limited to headphone choices here to tell you what they sound like. I guess I could pull the 240s out. They're up there. Those are pretty hard to drive headphones. So, for simplicity's sake, this is what you want. You don't want, because you're going to have, if you had the other setup with this and the SD793, then you'd have, and that was only fiber optic. See, that's another thing. That other setup I'm talking about, the one that I claim the Ultimate Desk setup, is still only fiber optic or SPDIF in. So you you gain USB in with this. So if you don't have SPDIF out, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to go with this. Now, there are other all-in-one desktop amps that do speaker out, headphone out, and have a built-in DAC. They're all more expensive. And if they're any better, I don't know yet. I haven't tried them. But some of those may be on my short list. And, yeah. I don't have to do... I can't really do a sound demo. I'm not going to set up the good mics or anything. I mean, I don't think the speaker wires are going to be at fault for any sort of loss here. These speaker wires are crazy. Still like the way the white ones look more than the black ones. Look at that. So yeah, 120 bucks. Drop it on your desk. USB in. Pops up on Windows. Plug in your headphones. Switch them on. Switch them off. Plug in your desktop speakers. At 25 watts, efficient speakers are probably going to work best. Fluence SX6. The Mica MB42s will probably get loud enough. Remember, the smaller the speaker, the harder it is to get it loud. So you got to push it more. Big giant speakers, like these. These are giant speakers, and I could get listenable, comfortable volume out of like, well, 12 o'clock on the volume dial. Any more than 12 o'clock, and it starts getting into the loud territory, and you approach the clipping area. Yeah, I'm detecting clipping at around 2:30, where it'll end at 4. So that area is pretty much unusable. So if you get a nice efficient set of speakers, you can play them at halfway. It works fine. It's the same as with the SA36. It's got that same halfway point is great, and anything past that is sort of pushing it. And it's like, well, nothing's like the SA50. I love you, SA50. This thing, I've never been able to take it up high enough to clip. Ever. Shit gets too loud. So, there's my review of the VX1. There's my announcement of Zwire. Zwire? Would you like to see Zwire? And right now, 7-foot lengths are just 75, and if you want another length, or if you're doing the front 3 channels in a surround sound, you want 3 of them, we'll work out a price on that. Oh, God, that's so bright. Okay.